Hi everyone. Over the past few days, the official SCP Twitter account has been posting teasers of a new update in the works, with yesterday's teaser culminating into Northwood officially announcing that SCP-SL's next update is, in fact, 13.0, aka Refracted Reality. This is a very surprising turn of events, as the last major update we had, Mimicry, fully released just 3 months ago, when usually the time difference between major updates would be a year. I mean, we haven't even had a .0 update for Mimicry, and we're already moving on to SL's next major release? To say it's all a shock would be a bit of an understatement. But I can understand why this decision was made, as there is a pretty big change in here for the back end of the game that will also affect the front end quite a bit as well. Today, we were just given access to a Patreon post listing some of the changes we can expect to see in this brand new update. So join me as we see how reality refracts in the 13.0 update. After the release of Mimicry and the anniversary update, Northwood's programming team wanted to take a small break to celebrate 2 successful back-to-back releases. After that, they got back to work and decided the next update would continue their tradition of refactoring a major system, as well as add some quality of life features. This led them to upgrading SCP-SL's engine from Unity 2019 to 2021, as well as changing the render pipeline SL uses. This was a massive undertaking, as these 2 programs combined affect pretty much every part of the game. This meant that anything at any time could completely break and would need to be fixed. The reasoning behind the engine change is that Unity 2019 is sort of outdated. Its toolset and features are lacking compared to more modern engines, and on top of that, Unity 2019 doesn't even receive any security patches anymore, leading to understandable worry from Northwood. Now, let's talk about the reasoning behind the render pipeline change, but in case you don't know what that is, it's okay, neither did I. Basically, it's behind taking everything in a Unity project and showing it on your screen. It's responsible for rendering, culling, post-processing, etc. With Unity 2019, Northwood was pretty much forced to use an older version of Unity's built-in pipeline, which has many issues such as not being very modifiable, not having many new features, and being pretty slow overall, relying on your CPU versus your GPU. However, with the change to Unity 2021, Northwood has decided to switch to a scriptable render pipeline, and more specifically the High Definition Render Pipeline, or HDRP for short. This render pipeline is pretty much the opposite of the built-in pipeline, more flexibility with its toolset, having features to increase the maximum graphical fidelity, and this one isn't a big deal or anything, but it also has support for modern GPUs, meaning higher end PCs will see a performance increase.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what got into me there. There must have been some kind of memetic hazard. Anyway, with all the technical info out of the way, what exactly does this mean for us, the players? Well, there's 2 main benefits to these new systems, one short-term and one long-term. Short-term is that HDRP offers a realistic shadow and reflection system, allowing for cool things like majorly improved lighting, items now properly reflecting light sources, and even being able to see the shadows of players walking near lights, allowing for keen-eyed players to know what may be just around the corner. Long-term is the newer versions of these programs offer many new tools and technologies not available before, such as ray tracing, baked lighting, volumetric clouds, a built-in decal system, a variety of tools designed to monitor and debug performance issues, shader graphs, editor bug fixes, and maybe even more. Overall, this means that Northwood's programmer team and art team will have a much easier time developing the game with less issues all around. This is definitely the change I'm most excited for, which I guess isn't saying much considering it's the biggest thing that's been announced for the update so far. For a long time, people have wanted Northwood to optimize the game, and I think they've been doing a pretty good job so far for the past few updates, but I think this is going to be the biggest update to affect performance yet. Unfortunately, it does seem like this is only going to help people with higher end graphics cards, so hopefully the new lighting itself doesn't hurt older PCs too bad. Speaking of the new lighting, my goodness gracious does it look good already! It looks really nice and makes it look like an actual secret lab. I can understand if it's not everyone's cup of tea, as it does seem to make some areas darker, but honestly, I kinda like that. SCP-SL, behind all the memes, all the competitiveness, and all the questionably aged players, is a horror game. There are times in this game where I've genuinely felt a sense of dread or horror, and those are the moments I love. I think the darkness definitely helps with this ambience, and I think this is where Northwood wants to take the game, judging by the amazing body horror of 939 and 173's reworks, or with the reworks of certain SCP abilities such as 106 with his stalking, and 939 having a literal jump scare ability. And personally, I'm really down for it. I hope the game goes more into this direction in the future. I'm also excited for the new features available with the upgrades of the engine and render pipeline. I can't believe SCP-SL RTX could actually be a thing. The Jailbird, which was previously exclusive to the Christmas tree in the Christmas 2022 event, and then reserved only for the remote admin, will now have a 914 recipe. This comes with some changes to the other special weapon upgrade recipes, which I will now read verbatim. The micro HID on the core setting will now have a 50-50 chance to return either the Jailbird or a 3x particle disruptor. The Jailbird and the 3x particle disruptor can now be refueled on the fine setting, similar to the micro HID. Both the 3x particle disruptor and the Jailbird on the very fine setting will return as a micro HID. The Jailbird and the 3x particle disruptor will turn into each other on the 1-to-1 setting. Putting the Jailbird on the core setting will cause it to turn red, its final state. This means that the Jailbird will break/explode after its next use. And finally, on the rough setting, the Jailbird will return as a flashlight. Except for that, the Jailbird itself hasn't really received any significant gameplay changes. However, the sound team did implement various new sounds for each stage of the Jailbird's degradation, which are mostly just distorted versions of the normal sound, except for the final stage, which I will play now. If you want to listen to all of the sounds, then I will link the full video in the description. I think making the Jailbird be an attainable weapon is cool. Do I think it's a good change? I'm not sure, honestly. I mean, sure, it's a ton of fun to use, but from what I remember of it in the Christmas event, it seems pretty OP. Specifically against SCPs. Being able to just chain flashing SCPs while doing big amounts of damage, even bypassing Hume Shield, ending in a fucking explosion, doesn't sound like the most balanced thing to me. I think it'll probably get nerfed before a live release, and I'm alright with that personally. The new 914 recipes seem good to me, especially with the fact that you don't have to worry about the micro getting destroyed by upgrading it into something different anymore. And, of course, Northwood's art/sound team don't miss, and gave what's basically a big glow stick a personality. Northwood believes that the current UI for 939's Mimicry is rather lackluster. It was originally designed with the idea of keeping graphical consistency with the inventory menu, but with time, they've come to realize that it just resulted with it being more complicated and cluttered than it needed to be. With this complete rework of our UI, it'll remove all the various submenus in favor of just one screen. It can also support new quality of life features that weren't present before, so let's get into some of them. Starting off with hotkeys and favoriting, when you favorite a voice clip, it will bind a number to your keyboard as a hotkey. Any favorited voice clips will not be overridden by new clips, allowing them to be permanently saved for the round until you unfavorite it. You will now be able to drag and reorganize voice clips, displayed next to the favorite button. You will now be able to trim voice clips, allowing you to play a specific part of the audio. There will now be a visible meter range to mimic points, allowing you to know exactly how far you can go before it gets removed. When you play gunshot sounds, there will be a variation to them, like different attachments, different fire rates, etc. More item sounds are going to be added, including grenades, adrenaline, candy, and SCP-1853, the Nickelodeon slime. And finally, the mimicry cooldown has been reduced from 20 seconds to 10. I'm a pretty big fan of these changes all around. I love the redesign of the UI itself, because it's going to be so nice not having to scroll up through pages upon pages of menus just to switch from one mimicry ability to another. I think being able to hotkey/favorite voice lines is going to be amazing, because now I can actively chase someone and repeat the screams of their dead friends without having to be buried in a menu or worry about the screams being lost. Dragging voice lines is a good feature. I still think inventory organization was the best feature of Parabellum, fight me. The ability to trim voice lines down is really funny and could actually prove useful. For example, if I'm a D-boy outside of 914 and I ask to be let in and then Dog finds me, I'm probably gonna scream, right? Well, with this change, 939 has the option to cut it to where it's just me asking to be let in without the screams, making the voice line more likely to lure people out of places in the future, or she could cut it to where it's just me screaming. Why? Because it's funny, that's why. Overall, awesome change. The Mimic Point having a range meter is real nice. I honestly haven't used the ability too much because of the complexity of the menus and because of the range itself, so I hope it gets a little buff in the future. But still, real nice change. Having more options for the environmental mimicry is a welcome addition, and the gunshot variations is a good change. The decreased mimicry cooldown is a really good change, but personally, I don't think it really needs a cooldown in the first place, but that's just me. Overall, Northwood wanted these quality of life features to give more creativity to SCP-939 players, and I think they succeeded. The breach scanner, teased back in the SCP-079 soft rework presentation for 12.0, has finally made its appearance. It does seem like it's a little different from what's stated in the old description, however, so I'm going to use it as a basis with updated information that I've gathered from watching the footage of it. So, at Tier 4, 079 gets the ability to activate a scan in any and all zones for living humans, even being able to specify which team it'd like to find. During this search, all AP regeneration will be paused. After a period of 20 seconds, if a living human does get found, a loud alarm will start blaring in the room they're in, and 079 will get an alert on who and where this person is. Humans can only be found if they've stayed in one area for a long time, making it the perfect anti-camping/stalling tool. I really enjoy these changes. The audio team did an amazing job as always, and the feature itself is really cool. We've all had that one game as SCP where there's just one dude left hiding, and then after searching forever, an MTF spawn happens and you all get wiped out. So having a counter to that will be exciting. The only critique I have is maybe there should be a visual way to tell the alarms are going off as well. Personally, I think it'd be really cool if the room that gets alarmed gets like plunged into darkness with the lights turning red, and then they start fading in and out. But that's just a little idea I had. Overall, the change is very good. All in all, I love how this update is looking so far. I've seen some people be disappointed that this is going to be a full update and not just a 0.0 patch, but you gotta keep in mind, they literally changed entire engines. On top of this, I think there's already some pretty cool changes that have been shown off, and again, keep in mind, we haven't even seen everything yet. There's definitely going to be more quality of life changes, probably more slight reworks of things, and hell, maybe we'll even get parabellummed and have a surprise of this dude showing up. Who knows? Anyway, that was my overview and thoughts on everything we know about 13.0 Refracted Reality so far. What do you think of these changes? Are you underwhelmed? Are you overwhelmed? Are you like, yeah, that's cool and all, but where's the sex update, Hubert? Give me your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read and discuss more about this update. Also, while you're in the comments, let me know your thoughts on this video itself. I'm fairly new to editing, fairly new to script writing, and completely new to this sort of discussion type of video, so any feedback is appreciated. Also, I guess while I'm doing this end of video spiel, make sure to subscribe, like, and check out my Twitch. Okay, I don't really know how to do outros yet, so bye, I guess.